Are you frustrated with online dating? Confused by all the new apps and fancy dating sites? Do you find yourself choosing the wrong person again and again? Well, studies show that hiring a dating coach can maximize your online dating experience. So no worries, I've got you. And I've created a virtual course called Doing Dating Right. It's a 5-video series that you can complete at your own pace in your own space, right at home. How to write your online dating bio, pick that perfect picture, and so much more. Want more info? Go to my website at jenniferhurwitz.com. Again, it's jenniferhurwitz.com. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Doing Relationships Right. I'm Jennifer Hurwitz, and I'm your host every Tuesday and every other Friday for our Just Jen episode. But today, if you're watching on YouTube, then you can see my beautiful guest sitting there. And if you're not watching, well, you should watch. But if you're not, then you know, well, you don't know. I'm about to tell you. Elizabeth Overstreet is here with us. She is a love strategist. Did I say that right?
You did. You did.
Love strategist. Strategist? Is strategist. Is that a word? I don't know. I made that. Strategist. Love strategist and a published author and my friend and colleague. And it's so nice to have people on that know, that do what I do. We all do the same thing. I love it. It's so nice to have you. How are you?
I'm good. First of all, thank you for having me on, Jennifer. You're right. It is so great when you can actually meet someone in the same space that's doing the work of helping people cultivate healthy relationships. So I love that. So thank you.
I do too. And it's nice that we can be friends and lift each other up and fix each other's crowns and not be, I think a lot of people are they're like, what do you mean you're having someone on that does the same thing? I'm like, I think it's nice.
I'm like that too. I think everyone adds a different perspective. So I'm so game and open for that. It's always, even though I do relationship coaching, I know you can relate to this. Sometimes we learn things from other coaches and people too.
Absolutely.
We're not perfect at this. We're always evolving and learning. So
I am not perfect. I am not. I feel like coaches need coaching. I feel like
absolutely.
I need a little coaching myself. My boyfriend and I were like, what in the, I can coach other people. I can't coach myself.
Well, that's the beauty. You can always see other people's situations a lot clearer than yours because you're too close to them. I mean, that's so normal.
So normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to jump right in because I was stalking you, of course, stalking you a little bit. I love your stuff. I love your website. Everybody needs to check out Elizabeth's website. It's Elizabeth Overstreet. What is your website?
ElizabethOverstreet.com.
Perfect, like mine, jenniferhurwitz.com. Same thing, easy. Okay, there's lots of good stuff on your website, but first of all, we'll talk about your book. We're going to get there too, but I want to talk about, you just had an article come out recently on Your Tango, which I love Your Tango. But this article really resonated with me because I think we're the same on this. It's 8 things to consider before giving up on love.
Yes.
And I feel like people give up way too easily.
They do. I understand the frustration because it's no one wants to keep doing it over and over again. And that's why it's important that you listen to people and experts that know and can give you good guidance so they can kind of shortcut or lessen your learning curve, right? So you're not having to repeat the same cycles over and over. But I can understand the frustration and despair. I get it.
I know. We've been there, right?
Yep,
absolutely. We understand. Right. And I feel like this article was so great because first of all, you're a smart lady. Mm-hmm. And second of all, you've been through it, which is awesome too. But you have great points. I feel like they're smart. They're not just a lot of times you read stuff and you're like, oh, that's so obvious and blah, 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 whatever. No, these are good, valid points. So I would love to can we get into
a
couple tips?
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you talk. People are sick of me. You go ahead and tell me what you got there.
I'm going to bring Jennifer on the road with me as my cheerleader because I'm feeling so good right now. No,
I'm so glad.
I think one thing that happens when we're ready to give up on love is we start second guessing ourselves. And I want people to stop doing that. I want you to lean into sometimes just taking a pause, taking a break, stepping back, enjoying your singlehood, getting back to this person that you may have neglected, yourself, and focusing on that first. Because what is always amazing to me is when we finally say, I'm done, that's when love shows up. And I think there's a reason for that. I think it's because you are really connected to who you are as a person. You start doing things you enjoy, and that's an attractive energy. And I think people underestimate that energy, because sometimes people are like, well, maybe it's the way I look, or maybe it's because I don't have this type of job, or maybe it's because I'm short. None of that has nothing to do with finding love. I do, look, I'm a realist. I know sometimes people are like, well, someone attractive has more opportunities. They may, but they don't have advantages when it comes to love, because
Oh,
they
I like
still
that.
have to like work through the relationship, cultivate the relationship. None of us can shortcut it, no matter how attractive or unattractive we are. But I think we also know people who are very attractive on the outside that could be very ugly on the inside, and people
I
we
was
may
just going to
meet
say
at
that.
first glance, but we're like, they're okay. But as we get to know their spirit and their energy, we find them very attractive. So I think that's why you really need to tap into like who you are first.
I agree. And sometimes I think that people that are like really attractive, that sometimes we don't realize they're really super insecure because that's what people they've
They've
relied
led
on
with that,
their
right?
looks. They've led with their looks. And
Right.
so, people that they've dated they've gone there first. They're like, oh, well, she's gorgeous. Right. And that's all they see. They don't see their insides for who they are. So it's tough to be,
Yeah, I mean, I think about Adele.
so
So like Adele was a plus size
Adele.
woman, but she was
Right.
still dating
She was
because
beautiful.
Adele has a beautiful spirit, and Adele is
Yes.
funny as heck. Like
Oh my God.
she's that girl you'd want to go out with and hang out at a bar because you just know
Yep.
you would have a good time. So now I'm looking at Adele, I'm like, wow, okay, now Adele has like become a different type of woman. She's lost some weight,
Right.
and no judgment on that at all, right? But
No.
she's decided, okay, I want to be healthier, I want to lose weight, but she's probably also attractive not just because of that factor, but because of who she was before she lost the weight. Like
Agree.
she had to have personality. So to your point about sometimes there's trade-offs, when people are very attractive, they do lean into that so much that sometimes they don't cultivate the other aspects of who they are.
Right.
So that's where you kind of level out the playing field, I think. Guys want women a lot of times that are normal. Guys want
I
women that
agree.
have a good sense of humor, that are fun to be around, that have a good spirit, good energy. So those things aren't always about the physical, but more how you carry yourself.
I'm going to get real right now, real authentic and real honest. I don't think I've shared this I'm going to get open, but in high school and college, I had a different face. I had a
Mm.
nose job. So
Mm.
I was always like the fun Jen. I was quirky Jen. I was like, before I had my nose done. And all the guys were like my best friend. They all loved Hervitz. They loved to hang out with Jen. She was real fun. She was
Mm-hmm.
always like, one of the boys. And then I had my nose done in college. And all of a sudden, guys wanted me to go out with me because I was pretty and I was,
Right.
whatever. And it was really hard for me
Yeah, it's an
as a
adjustment.
teenager, as a
Yeah.
20-year-old for guys to look at me as not the like fun sidekick, quirky kind of Jen anymore. They only liked me because I was quote unquote pretty.
Right.
So it's really, really a strange
It
thing to happen
is.
to you
It is.
when you all of a sudden are relying on, whether it's your looks or not your
Mm-hmm.
looks or your weight or you have a body image change to know like what do they want you for really?
Right.
All of a sudden people liked me for me. And then all of a sudden they liked me for my face.
Right.
Very hard,
Which is why
very
sometimes when
hard.
people have major transformations, what people don't understand
Yep.
is they still see themselves as that old person that they were.
And I did.
They don't, they're this new person. They see it physically, but they haven't like psychologically totally
Right.
accepted it because they're used to being with the other person. And
Yep.
I could totally relate to you because I was friend zoned many times. I remember approaching guys that were way out of my league, apparently, in high school,
Right,
asking
me
them to
too.
the sweetheart dance, where you can reverse ask somebody to
Me
dance,
too.
and they were
Me
like,
too.
Elizabeth, you're really sweet, but no, I'm gonna be going with so
That
and
was
so.
me.
That was
That
me
was me.
because I thought, hey, we're cool, and so like I had to really develop. Like I think I ended up developing a good sense of humor, a good personality.
Of course.
But then as you change, to your point, you're like, what is this? Why
Yeah,
you're almost like not aware of the other side when people are attracted to you for
I
other
was.
factors. It's
Right.
very interesting but bizarre, but I get it.
It's so nuts, isn't it? Like we come into our own, and then all of a sudden you have this different personality and different. Oh, it's just the
It's so
craziest.
yeah.
So it is. It's so good, but it's like that's why I really feel like it's about who you are
Mm-hmm.
when you're dating, right? Not about your confidence comes from within.
Yes.
Like your smile and your attitude and your positivity is so important. I tell my clients all the time, if you're going to be angry or bitter or resentful, please, for the love of God, don't go out on that date
No, just
because
wait.
just wait.
Wait.
Please just wait. Oh my gosh. I have guy clients and they're like, I went out with this bitch. I'm like, okay, stop right there. I'm like, just stop right there. I can't believe, you know what I'm saying? It's just hard. It's hard.
It is.
It's hard.
It is.
I
Yeah.
know. But that's such a good point that you just made. Such a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, really, totally. Okay. What you got? What's next?
Okay. Don't assume. This is happening so
That's
much.
me. It's making that narrative up in your head, right? You create that story and you're like, no, I know he didn't text me back because meanwhile, he's just busy for God's sakes, right?
Yes.
Maybe.
Like when you're first learning, when you're first learning someone and you're in the early phases of dating, I call it discovery because you don't know them who they are. And just because you understand something a certain way, you process it a certain way. This other person is their own being, processing things their own way, taking the information their own way. So don't assume, ask the question. And I think even if you ask the question, you don't have to always say like, why are you doing it? Because why kind of puts people on the defense,
Agree.
but more of
Agree.
like, what makes you think, how do you think through this process? What makes you do it this way? Because it gives you insight into how someone thinks. So a lot of times we assume, just like you said, he didn't text me right away. Well, you might be a quick texter. He might be like,
Yes.
I batch text everyone at one time and that's it. So, like
I copy and
I
paste.
copy and paste. So like you have to get to know your person. I think that happens
Yes.
a lot of relationships.
Okay, so how do you feel about this? So I did a little thing about this yesterday. It's so funny that you bring this up. But how do you feel about like I think that guys they create their own trouble for themselves. I feel like if they would say that up front, if you went on a date with someone and he said to you, "Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a great texter."
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not. I'm just not. It's not my thing. You may text really well, but I'm not. I feel like that would leave that whoever you're that would leave me feeling better when I didn't get a text so quick.
Totally
Right?
agree. Totally agree.
So like, just be upfront about it. Just say, look, I just want to let you know if you don't hear back from me for 4 days,
Right.
then I wouldn't be so quick to go to that insecure place where I get cuckoo because he hasn't
Yeah.
texted.
I just think like we are doing things that could make relationships easier by just talking about it.
Yes.
Like ghosting,
Yes.
just,
Yes.
hey, I like you, but I don't
Oh,
like you like that. Texting,
right.
hey, I am not great with texting, but I am good
Yes.
with talking on the phone. So now you kind of switch up the way you guys operate and interact with one another. Because I remember dating someone like that, and they're like, I hate the phone. So one time they're like, I stayed on the phone with you an hour. I'm so proud of myself. And I was proud of them too. But I
Me
also
too. I'm proud of you.
but I rapidly thought, okay, this was a one off. Like this isn't gonna happen each time. But they
Right.
established that like they set up kind of where they were, which helped me to know, okay, this is their way of behavior. So if they're not calling me all the time, because they were more of a in your like let's interact. They like the social
Yeah.
interaction. It helped me to be like, okay, if I'm not hearing from them and they're not calling me, it's not personal or it doesn't mean they're rejecting me. So that
Exactly. I love
communication.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that I feel like if we all just did that ahead of time, if we could all just say like, look, here's where I kind of sit, so that then girls wouldn't, because guys always say to me, well, girls are so insecure, they're so needy. Well, they wouldn't be if y'all would just be upfront and say,
Yeah.
I'm not going to text you.
Right.
You know
And
what
I
I'm
think and
saying?
I
Like,
think and I think women could preempt it even like
I agree.
by saying, I really like it when you text a response. And it would be great if I could hear a response from you in a day or two. Like I'm
Yes.
giving guys some days here, but I'm just saying as an example, like telling people what you want because I hear a lot of times because I coach men and women. So
Yeah. Yeah. Me
from
too.
from from women I hear he should know. He should know I want this. And I'm like,
Right. Well, they don't know.
have you communicated it? And sometimes we
Right. You're so
communicate
right.
things generically. We'll say, I need you. But what does that mean? I want time with you. What does that mean? Yeah, you want time. How much time? When do you want this time? How often do you want this time? So taking that multi-layered approach really helps you to have just a better connection with your partner. It's
I
work, but it's
love
worth the
that.
work. It's worth the work.
I agree with you. That's so smart. Aren't we so smart?
We try.
I feel like we're so smart. Everyone, listener, we're so smart. The two of us, we're so smart.
I'm taking Jennifer on the road. Like seriously, she's gonna be my hype girl. You know how you have your MC that comes out before the main act. I'm gonna have Jennifer come out, warm up the audience, and then I'll come
I'm
behind her.
telling you, I'm like, I just don't know who wouldn't hire us. I mean, I feel like we are like we're the cheerleader, y'all. We're the cheerleader. We're going to do it for you. It's just, you know what? I really do feel like people get so frustrated because it's tough. Dating is
It
tough.
is. It is.
I know. Well, we got you. Okay, what you got next?
Okay. So, and if you guys want to check out this article, it's on
Please
yourtango.com
do.
and eight things to consider before you give up on love. So the other one I want to talk about is like realize what makes you successful in your career doesn't always make you successful in your relationship. So,
I love that one.
mm-hmm.
Explain to us.
Okay. So being on a relationship is like being on a team. And if we know anything about sports or any group activities we participate in, even group shopping for women out there, it's a team effort. Like, we're all looking, if we're going shopping with our girlfriends, we have to compromise. We may have to go in that store we really don't shop in ever to appease that person or two that goes to that particular store. And it's the same thing in relationships. Like, in your career, I always feel like it's a little more singular. While you may work with a team, while you may develop people to get, to rise to the top, it's definitely a more singular, focused activity. You're like, this is my plan. I'm going to get promoted by doing X, Y, and Z. Okay, I'm going to push and do X, Y, and Z again. Okay, I'm going to repeat this, this process, keep, doing the right things within this organization, to being politically correct, whatever it is you have to do. In a relationship, though, it's different. Like the things that would make you successful in your career are more singular, achievement oriented driven. In a relationship, it really becomes about the two people. And I really don't believe there's 50-50. I feel like there should be mutual effort, but there are times it will be 80-20. There will times
I agree.
it be 60-40, and it will go both ways because as you evolve both the people in a relationship, different things are happening to you, which will impact like what you're contributing into your relationship. So I think people need to go into it eyes wide open and realize that in a team environment, it's about compromise, it's about communication, it's about steady movement forward. And there might be setbacks, and how do you recover in those setbacks? It's just a different approach. It's more well rounded and holistic.
I love that. And you know what else too? I feel like we didn't learn, at least I didn't. I don't want to
Mm-mm.
speak for you, but I didn't learn this stuff before I got married.
Mm.
No one explained any of this to me. I think I didn't go into my marriage with eyes wide open. I just thought, oh, it's going to be great. The white picket fence, the whatever, blah, blah. I didn't, no one, I feel like if I would have known all of this then, I would have been so much more successful
Yeah, I don't
in my
think this
marriage.
the crazy thing about relationships is like parenting. You don't know till you're in it. A lot of times, a
That's
lot of
right.
things, you may know some things, you may hear some
Sure.
rumors, you may observe
A
some
couple
things,
things.
but once you're in it, you're like, oh, I didn't realize it was like all these components to it. So a lot of
Right.
it is learning while you're like in the situation, and also taking what
Absolutely.
you've observed as you've grown up. So depending on how you've grown up, what you've observed, those behaviors naturally carry over into your relationship. So it does take effort and kind of a self awareness to kind of readjust when you see things aren't really clicking, or you figure out, okay, this isn't really a healthy thing to practice.
If co parenting during a pandemic taught us anything, it's that you need proof your kids are safe. With alcohol abuse on the rise, many co parents are turning to the no nonsense system committed to providing proof, protection, and peace of mind. Soberlink's alcohol monitoring system is the most convenient, reliable, and reasonable way for a parent to provide evidence that they are not drinking during parenting time. Soberlink's real-time alerts make it easy to negotiate with any party. Judges rest assured that the child is safe. Attorneys get court-admissible evidence of sobriety, and both parents have empowerment and peace of mind. Do divorce right and trust the experts in remote alcohol monitoring technology to keep your kids safe, happy, and well-adjusted. To download the guide, 5 non-negotiables for embracing a new normal that I developed with Soberlink, visit www.soberlink.com/DRR. Right. And I also think that's to your point of the article, like you need to kind of figure it out and don't jump so quickly, right?
Right,
Because
right.
I also was so lucky that my marriage taught me things that have helped me in
Yes,
my
yes,
relationship now with my partner for 5 years,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I held myself accountable, and now thank God I made
And
changes
you,
and
yeah, and you said
yeah,
something important, like self love is not just I love myself to death. Like self love is really looking at yourself, almost like a SWOT analysis. This is why I talk about the strategy piece. Like, where am I strong? Where am I weak? Where are there opportunities to improve? What are things that pull me backwards when it comes to
mhm,
relationships? What are patterns that I see that I need to break? It's that accountability piece. And until you really can be honest about that and have some self discovery and also some progression around shifting it, you kind of stay in a pattern with your relationships.
that's
And
right.
the same people, I should say, the same types of people will show up. They may have different faces, different names, but you'll have the same scenario play out over and over because you still haven't learned to deal with that thing, that's holding you back or that keeps coming up as a recurring thing. So that
Yep.
accountability piece is really, really big.
Yeah, and so many people cannot hold themselves accountable.
No,
They
it's a
just really
struggle
can't,
for
and
some.
it's a struggle. And you've got to be able to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
I think it's a tough one. That's a tough one. I actually was with a colleague of mine, and he had a really interesting little scenario that he talked about, which I loved. Was that sometimes it's like you have a bag of rocks, right, or a
Hmm.
bag of marbles. Have you heard this one before?
Mm-mm.
And sometimes, sometimes one person holds all the rocks, and they get to talk
Mm.
about their day and their problems and their whatever, and the other person has to be quiet, and you have to take turns whose day it's going to be that has the issues or the problems, that both of you need, one of you has to be strong and the other one is not so strong, right? So you take your turn and you do your thing. Like, for example, Jim and I, usually it's me that's like, when he's real good when I'm having issues, he sits, he listens, he's quiet. He doesn't come at me like, well, I have the same problems. I'm just as whatever. It's my turn and then it's his turn. And then we take turns and we help each other. I just thought that was really
I've seen that. Like, that's the most annoying friendship. I remember reading about that. The person that always takes the problem you're having and they shift it to themselves.
Yes.
And sometimes
narcissistic conversationalist.
Sometimes you don't even realize. Yeah, like you're like, wait a minute, how did we get on you? Like, I called you with my problem. So yeah, there's a balance to that. That's good that Jim and I have that. That's good.
Yeah. It's funny because like, it was funny. My sister, I called her today with the problem and I was like, I'm having a nervous breakdown. That's a big problem. I was kidding. And she's like, well, let me tell you what. She goes, oh, wait a minute. This is about you. I'm like, yes, Julie, you're being a narcissistic conversationalist. And she's like, that's right, I am.
That's good. She used your own philosophy. You couldn't reject it. You're like, you're right. Okay, let me get it together.
I'm like, Julie, it's my turn, girl. It's my turn. It's so funny. Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh. But that's just so, you're so smart. I feel like this whole article is so smart. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Do we have time for a couple more?
Yeah,
or no?
We could do a few more.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good. Go.
Okay. So one that I really like is understanding you want someone who is complementary versus someone who completes you. So
love that.
A lot of people are like, well, I came in my relationship and we were both broken and it worked out. And I'm like, but you're still not and they're like, we came together. I'm like, but you're still 2 half people, 2 3/4 people, 2 2/3 people. You still haven't like healed holistically. And I think like we kind of, I don't know if you remember the Jerry Maguire movie where Renee Zellweger was like, you complete me, which started this whole like rabbit hole for people.
It sure did.
But I just think this, look, I think you heal yourself. It's not that you always will come together in perfect situations, because I do think people could come together and have issues, but if they're committed to individually and collectively working through them, they can get there, and it could be a strong relationship. I have no doubt about that. But why take yourself through that grief? Like, if you could take time now to heal yourself, become whole, I do feel like who you attract, who you date is often a mirror for where you are emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And so like a lot of times we're like knocking the other person, but there's something in us usually that's bringing that type of person to us. And when you shift it, and I always say it doesn't mean you're not going to attract jerks, because like that's inevitable. Jerks try, like they have high numbers. They're like, I'm going to go 100 times and hope that I hit like twice and I'll be happy. But what it means is when that jerk does come in your life, or that person, you're like, oh no, my standards are here. I'm not going to I'm not going to lessen my standards just to be with this person. So it's just, there's so much clarity on who you are that like when people come in your life, you're so clear on if they fit or not. You have a lot more clarity. Absolutely. So do that work. And I also think, we look at people from one aspect. So there's different levels of development. I always say that people have, there's financial development, there's spiritual development, there's emotional maturity, there's sexual maturity. And it's sometimes like people are developed higher at certain levels. So someone could be really successful, look really great on paper, but be very emotionally immature. So it's right?
Such a buzzkill. I'm like, what do you mean? You've got all this great potential, and you can't even use your words, for God's sake, right? That's my.
Because we're kind of like an appearance culture. So like people, if something looks good, they're like, okay, it has to be good. But then when you dig deeper beneath the layers, you're like, oh my God, there's so much that's like maybe wrong here. Not saying someone that's not financially mature can't be emotionally mature, but I'm just telling people like pay attention to all aspects. But as you go in a relationship, you might be stronger financially, and the other person might have other qualities that balance you out and still be doing okay, but not as well as you. And you shouldn't negate that always and be like, well, they're not going to be a good partner, because sometimes together you're still expanding your who you are, how you guys can approach the world. And so I do think like people fall into these like buckets, like, but he's good. And I know women look for security. I'm not saying to marry someone that can't take care of you. I'm not saying that. There's a balance, but I'm just saying look at the whole picture, not just one or two, attributes.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I love everything you're saying. I'm just sitting here going, this is a great episode in my head. I'm like, I'm listening to you for a minute, then I'm like, oh, this is a great episode. I'm thinking what I'm going to title it. I'm thinking, of course, I'm like, us, we go right to work. I'm like, this is fantastic. My listeners are going to love this.
I hope they do. Like, I just hope people get something out of it. I mean, all of
I
these
do too.
things
I
may not
love it.
apply to you, but if you get one thing out of it, that makes us very happy.
I
So,
agree. Wait. We didn't talk about the book.
okay. So I do have
That's important. Show the book. Show the
Okay,
book.
so I do have a book. It's called Love You and He Will Too. And
I
my
love it.
my book, though it says Love You and He Will Too, guys are like, where's my book? I will be working on the male versions of this book too. They do read my book because my book is kind of universal anyway, but
Yeah,
it
it's
just
great.
really focuses again on that self-love component. I just think like the foundation of like building who you are is so important to what you want to attract and where you want to be. And I know that people feel like that's corny, but I
It's
really,
not corny.
yeah, but I really feel like it's so super, super important because it's your foundation and it's like a house. You know, if you build a house on a poor foundation, no matter how beautiful that house is, if a storm comes out and wipes it out, it's because that foundation was typically poor, right? But when you have a strong foundation, even if a storm comes through and knocks it out, that foundation is still there. So I feel like you are the foundation for your relationships, and that's super
I love
important.
that. Yeah, I didn't do the work. This is something else I share very openly. When I got divorced 8 years ago, I thought I was fine.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? I'm fine. I can do this. I've
Hmm.
got this. I don't need any help. I'll be just fine. I started dating. And I was like, whoa, like my whole world just,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you think, you know what? I don't want to listen to anyone.
Hmm.
I knew everything.
Yep.
No one could tell me anything. And I literally collapsed. I just nothing. It was horrific. And then I did the work.
Hmm.
You know, I failed miserably. I was in horrible relationship with a narcissistic, horrible human. And then I realized, you know what? I got to fix me. I've
Right.
got to fix me so that I never go through this again. And then I was able to realize real quickly, you know, the jerks.
Yeah.
Right when they walked in the door, I was like, nope, red flag,
Right. And you didn't
because
even you didn't even entertain it because once you
nope,
have
I
that
didn't.
peace with yourself and like you're not going to allow someone to disrupt that peace. It's
Mm-mm,
a different game.
mm-mm.
Total game
Nope.
changer.
You just, yeah. And you know what? I feel like sometimes with my clients, I can tell when they haven't done the work because they allow that into
Right.
their, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And then I'll say to them, you're not ready. Let me send you to X, Y, or Z
Yeah.
who they'll get your soul back together and then you'll come to me
You
and I'll
come to
help
me
you
and I'll help
date.
you date. Right. Because I mean, it is really crazy when you recognize peace. When something tries to erode that peace, it's so clear to
Mhm.
you. And it feels uncomfortable, like almost like
Ugh,
your body responds to it, your mindset
that's what happened
responds
to
to
me.
it.
Right.
But when you're used to that, like dysfunction or toxicity, it's almost like you ride that wave because that feels
I
more
was.
normal to you. But I think what happens is, and I always tell my clients is like, once you have peace and once you have a healthy relationship, you won't want to be in one that's not. You won't probably stay in one that's not long because you will recognize
Mm-mm.
like it's a totally opposite feeling. You want that rewarding connection with someone. And so,
Yeah,
yeah, that piece, that inner peace is very important.
I agree. So your book is it in chapters, like different?
Yeah.
ex-
So it's about, so it really starts with the foundation. It talks
Okay.
about like the love languages. It talks about how to exercise them with your partner. It talks about how being in a relationship is not, it's like being on a team, like I talked about,
Yeah.
and things like that. So it kind of really guides people through the basics of like how to kind of reset and figure out how to start from zero, like, figure out who they are and build from that. So then when that person is in their life, that they recognize a healthy relationship. Because I was
Yeah.
coaching a client the other night, and it was really funny. She's talking to a guy, and he's very attentive, and she's like, he's nice, but I just don't feel like I have time for him. And I said, well,
Hmm.
you you can't have it both ways. You
Right.
said this is what you want. It's showing up, but I think you're kind of self-sabotaging, which leads me to another thing I said in the article. Like sometimes we self-sabotage. So she started talking about another guy who's been very inconsistently showing up in her life. And I think sometimes we like to fantasize the thing that we don't have to kind of keep us like, I don't know what it is, but it's like we almost will entertain that more than something that's consistent. And I think that's
Absolutely.
another relationship habit. Like it's building those
I do
good
too.
relationship habits. Because a healthy relationship is someone who's going to engage with you, tell you why they're not engaging with you. Like it's going to make sense. I always tell people when it doesn't make sense, you don't try to make sense of it.
Yeah, when you're confused,
You're not
that's
supposed
not
to feel
right.
that way.
You're not
No.
supposed to feel that
Mm-mm.
way. Right. No. Yeah, we always want, now we quote unquote, we always want the ones that feel yucky and the
Yeah.
guy doesn't want us and we have to fight for it.
But see,
That's not right.
that's self-reflective. Like I feel
That
like
is
there's a root
right.
to that. There's something about
Absolutely.
something you were around where it wasn't available to you,
Yep.
and you're now you're that feels more comfortable to you. There's something you got to dig into inside of yourself to like get to the bottom of that, because that's not normal.
Right. Like you didn't feel like you were enough.
And
Like
we
you
get
don't
a lot of
deserve a good relationship.
right, and we get a lot of romacons that really send us mixed messages as women, like about, okay, you want the guy that kind of ignores you, or you it should be hard, and I'm like, no, it shouldn't.
No. I feel that way too. It's so frustrating because I feel like there's so much information out there, and it contradicts. It's so contradictory. Like, some of the coaches say, don't text back and act like a bitch.
Right.
Don't text back. And then there's coaches like us who are like, no,
just be yourself.
Yeah, it's just like, so it's got to be, it really does have to be very difficult for people who are dating.
I think so.
What to believe
for
and whatnot.
Sure.
Believe us, everybody. Believe us. We're the right ones.
The EJT,
just listen to us. That's right. Listen to Elizabeth Overstreet and me. That's it. Don't listen to anyone else.
Screw them.
Screw them. Just call us. We got it. Cracking me up. Okay, so this has been so fun. I feel like you could stay another hour. This would be great.
I know.
Okay, Elizabeth Overstreet. It's ELIZ, right?
Yep.
ABETH, Overstreet, like overstreet.com.
Yep.
Everything's going to be in the show notes so that everyone can find you. I adore you.
Same here.
I think you're fabulous. I would love to work with you anytime you'd like to.
Okay, same here.
What else can I say? The book, show the book again.
Yeah, the book
for people who are watching.
So if you guys want to, low key learn a few things, you can check out the book "Love You and He Will Too" by Elizabeth Overstreet. You can find it on Amazon. It's out there. And then again, like if you want to follow me on, the social media websites, go to my website. It'll lead you to all of where I'm located on social media at ElizabethOverstreet.com. I have lots of free content out there as well to help people through this process of finding love and dating and connecting with the right person.
Yay. And you're going to be, everything will be in the show notes. And yeah, Instagram is great. Follow her on Instagram and follow me and follow us and hang out there and have fun. And oh my gosh, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me here. I've been looking forward to this. I appreciate it, Jennifer.
I know, me too.
Keep doing the work you're doing too. We appreciate
you. You too. Awesome. Okay, everybody, you know where to find me, I think. JenniferHurwitz.com, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you want to do, just do it. And, I don't know what else. That's it. Have a great weekend and great week and be happy and get out there in the sunshine and
enjoy life. Life is short.
Enjoy life. That's right. Enjoy life. And that's it. And so from me to you, everybody, peace, love, and so much truth. Have a fabulous day.